Okay guys, in this video we're going to be going over what is a memory cell, how do they work, some advanced examples of what we could do with memory cells if Rust electricity wasn't so stupid. But anyway, yeah. If you're wondering too why I got the webcam on, this is Degenerate for all the Zoomers. If I start talking about some really boring stuff, you know, they can just, you know, refer to Airsoft Fatty or Andrew Tate or, you know, what the GUP Discord is like. So don't be, you know, put off too much for that. That's for the younger audience. Anyway, without much further ado and all that stupid shit, this right here is what we call a memory cell. The primary focus of what a memory cell does is it stores state. So you basically can store a 0 or a 1. Right now, if you look at this configuration, we basically just have all these yellow lines that are just showing power distribution. So you can ignore the yellow lines. We have 3 switches here. We have our first switch right here, which is our red switch, which is set to the reset on the memory cell. We have this green switch, when we're just referring to them as the color of the wire coming out, but the green switch goes to the set on the memory cell, and the orange switch goes to the toggle. And so you'll see we're sending 50 power into this memory cell. There's currently a bug in the game where it just takes the output and splits it between the two. But really we're getting 49 power out of this memory cell, so just ignore when it says 24. And right now, since we have a green light here, we have the memory cell set in the 1 configuration. And so if I were to come over here and hit this toggle, you'll notice that now the bottom light is set to red, which means that we have put a 0 in this memory cell. So we're sending all of our power to the inverted output. And we can just keep flipping this all day, and you'll see it, you know, pretty much we'll just flip this bit back and forth. If it was a 1, the bit becomes a 0. If the bit was a 0, it becomes a 1. And then we have these other 2 switches. So if I were to go here and hit this reset line, our red switch, you'll notice that it sets the bit to a 0, and we send power to our left side. If I were to click it again, it's not going to do anything because it's just trying to set the bit to 0, and the bit's already 0. Same thing with this set. You'll notice, you know, if I click it, it sets the bit to a 1, but, you know, it's not doing anything to keep going. The only time that you will always flip the bit, no matter what the current setting is if you hit this toggle. It's the only way to really flip this bit. You know, if you try to hit these set and resets, like I said, it's just going to try to set it to 1 or 0. It doesn't matter what the previous value was. And this is actually a really cool mechanic because it allows us to build a trap base. So what we can do is prime a trap and set it up to where whenever somebody triggers our trap, it'll, you know, trigger the trap, but it can't be re-triggered again or unset or anything like that. So right here we have a very simple, you know, trap setup. This is pretty much going to be any base that you've ever walked into and a door closes on you. So same thing here, we have our yellow lines as power delivery. And then we have a green line coming from our heartbeat, humidity, whatever the HF sensor. That's going to our set. And then we have a button here on the reset. And then you'll notice we have an orange line that goes from our inverted output or whenever our bit's set to 0. And we have that running to this door controller over here. So whenever we hit this reset button, we set the bit to 0 and power gets sent to the door, therefore opening this door up. But if I were to come in here and set it up to where this would actually trigger with me, you'll notice that we set the bit to a 1 inside of our memory cell, and that switches the power over to this normal output and closes this door. You could even set this up to where another door opens in here, and maybe there's a shotgun trap in there, or turns a turret on or something like that. That's your own thing. But if we were to come in here, you know, once there's not a player in here and the trap isn't setting itself anymore, we can just come in here, click the reset the trap back to its initial state, and it's ready to, you know, trap the next person. And this is where you're going to see what a memory cell is used for 99.9999999% of the time. The only other time I've seen it in actual, like, real Rust where you're building circuits for your base would be the knee core. And that's just because we're trying to take advantage of the way power splitters work to reset this trap, or not the trap, but set or reset the memory cell. So we can, you know, divert power to the battery or not, depending on how it's going. But anyway, what's really cool about memory cells is we basically have a binary representation here. If we were to take a bunch of these, that's why I kept referring to this as a bit, either as a 0 bit or 1 bit. If we were to take a bunch of these and tie them together, and if we just want to simplify what this is, you'll just notice that this red line goes into these left splitters, just so we can tie, like, you know, read the status of this bit along multiple, like, buses. And you'll notice the right splitters here, same thing. That's our green lines. These are basically, if the bit's 1, this splitter will be powered on. If the bit is 0, this splitter will be powered on. And what we've done is we've took our inverted output and routed it to the toggle on the next bit over. So whenever this gets set to 0, we set this bit to 1, because that's how counting works. And yeah, basically too, let me also just kind of explain how binary works. So let me open up Paint real quick. Excuse me, cats are fighting. Hey! Sorry about that. My cats were fighting, and I had to make sure it wasn't a wild animal fucking the cat up. But anyway, let's get back to what a representation of binary is, or what is binary versus what we count in base 10. So we have a system called, make this a little bigger, base 10, and we're just going to abbreviate it. I don't have my drawing tablet. I couldn't find it somewhere inside the house, but I will find it later. But basically what we have is, you know, we have 10 different numbers that can be inside of a number place. I'm not sure what the actual technical term is, but you'll notice here we have our 9 numbers plus 0, so that's why it's called base 10. We have 10 different options that can go into a number place. If we were to actually think about how numbers work in, you know, reality, we would have infinite zeros or infinite places to the left, and then we have our initial place, our 1. You know, or well, it actually, excuse me, starts off as 0. But, you know, as we start counting up, it'll increment to like a 1, then goes into a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, all that stuff. But what's interesting is whenever we hit our 9, our last number in base 10, it becomes a 0. And the next number over becomes a 1. And we keep doing this until this is 9 and 9, and then it'll rotate back over and it becomes a 1, 0, 0. And so this is basically how base 10 works. If we look at binary, okay, we only have 2 numbers, 0 or 1. These are our 2 options. And if we were to take our same example, you know, give ourselves some zeros, because, you know, we have all these zeros here. You'll notice these are all of our bits. Did I perfectly put 8 bits? I did. I wasn't even trying to do that. But anyway, you know, we have 0 here, and then this would become a 1. And then what's really cool about binary, because we only have 2 numbers, whenever we want to count 3, this flips back over to 0 like it would in base 10, but and the next one becomes a 1. So this would be a 3. And then this would be, or excuse me, this is that would be 2. Excuse me, this is 2. This would be 3. Okay. If we wanted to do 4, we would do 4 like this. And so you'll see in base 10, like this is our representation of 100, because we have a lot more numbers we can fit in every number place. And binary, we only have 2, so it's like way smaller. So whenever we put if we position our bits in the same way, or by the time our binary number looks like our base 10 number, we've only stored 4, not 100, right? So it's actually kind of cool. And a quick way, if you're just trying to figure out like how to read binary, and most of the time we do things in bytes, and a byte is 8 bits. That's why I did 8 here. You'll notice like this would be our 1, this is 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, right? And so if I were to come in here, and here we'll just kind of do this under, if I were to do like 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0. If we wanted to add this up quickly, and I'm just going to do a calculator because I can't do the math that easily in my head. So if we wanted to add this up and get our base 10 representation of this number, it'd be 128 because we have a 1 in the 128 place. And then a 32, so we would add 32. Then we would add 16. Then we would add 4. And so this would be 180 in binary representation. And so, and the reason why I explained all this is because that's why, like right here, we have 3 bits together. Our max number would be 4 plus 2 plus 1, 7, but technically it's 8 because 0 itself is something. So we have 8 different possibilities here. And so if we were to add all these up, we could sit there and determining on how this number counted up. Like if we were to just like put a timer on this and have it to where every 10 seconds it just increments up, you'll notice like we can tell whenever this binary is in 1. So what I have here is I have a blocker that just reads this first bit and goes, okay, if our first bit is 1, then we want to send power to this blocker. And then we come over here and say, okay, well, if bits 2 and 3 are on, we want to sit there and put it into this OR switch and use it to block this blocker. So if this bit is on and these other ones are off, we know that that's actually 1 in binary, and so we can account for that. And so you'll see as soon as I flip it, boom, we have 1. If we count up now, so I'm going to flip this bit again, and you're going to notice it's going to become a 0, and this next one's going to become a 1. So boom, we just counted. So that's 2. Same thing. We take this bit off right here. You'll notice that we just take from this bit right here. And then we have an AND switch that reads these other 2 bits. And if either one of them are 1, then we know that it's not 2, it can't be 2. Only this bit needs to be on, and so then we power it up. And then right here, so we can show like an actual representation of how this would work in game if you had enough power to do this, and like what's possible with decoding these bits and reading them. For number 3, which means that this third bit, or excuse me, both the first and second bits are both on, because 2 plus 1 equals 3. We want to turn this turret on. So we sent the power to this AND switch, and as soon as we let a 1 through our bit decoder that reads for 3, this turret will turn on. So I'll do that right now. We just turned it to 3. You'll notice this bit turned on and our turret has turned on. And then we could count again, and then boom, turns off because we're no longer on 3. And so this is why bit decoding is really cool, and why binary in general is really cool. And the reason why, like, you're sitting on YouTube right now watching a dude with a bunch of freaking TikTok attention aids around his face is literally because of we have millions of these bits tied together within our computer, and your computer's constantly setting these bits to 0s or 1s and then reading it and determining, well, depending on the position of how these bits are read out in place, that's how I need to like sit there and put this subway here. Let me move this over. Whatever. We'll Control Z. But that's how we make this Subway Surfer guy run. Right now, in memory, I have this full video loaded in memory, and my computer is cycling through all the different bits and going, okay, well, frame 1 is in this. Well, it's a pointer in memory that points over to this collection of bits where there's probably 20,000s of these 0s and 1s put together, and goes, this is frame 1. And then this is frame 2, and then this is frame 3. Well, I'm not sure if that's exactly how that format works, but that would be like a very primitive way of reading, video data. Same thing with like this girl twerking. Same thing. Somewhere in my computer, bro, that lady is sitting there twerking her ass off in memory inside my computer. But anyway, before I go off on a ramble, because I could talk all day about memory and stuff like that and be pointing at stuff on my screen, you'll notice that binary is really cool, and we can actually do these things in Rust. I actually did a stream where I built an 8-bit adder, which is where you could take two, like if I had 16 of these memory cells, well, it wasn't memory cells, I was just using the switch because this could be binary 0 or 1. Memory cells are just cool that, you can make them do other things. But I had 16 of these switches, and depending on how you had those switches turned on and off, it would just immediately on the other end of the 8-bit adder circuit show you a new 8-bit number with all of them added up. And it's really cool what you can do with something so freaking simple. Like, this is literally why Monkey can now be on YouTube. And so, yeah, like, it's theoretically possible you could build an ALU in Rust, which is an arithmetic logic unit. All processors have. It's how your processor does this math. It has a bunch of these adders added up, and I think they do like 32-bit or 6. Actually, I think now it's all honestly 64-bit because AMD 64 architecture. But regardless, they have hundreds of these bits together in this processor, and your processor can do this. For example, a gigahertz basically means 1 million times. Hertz is a measurement of how many times something happens per second. So when you see a processor that has like 5 gigahertz, that means that it can do 5,000 instructions per second. Something so simple. And all it is literally just these like little memory cells glued together in your computer doing all this stuff, man. But anyway, before I go crazy off on that and go on a tangent rambling about memory cells and all that stuff, again, we'll go ahead and I'm sure this is going to be fun to edit. These are what memory cells are. This is how you use them. This is why they're so cool. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like. Subscribe if you want. It really helps me out. I'm getting really close to 1,000 subscribers. Leave a comment, any comment you want, good or bad. I don't really mind. I read all the comments. Also, a lot of people like to send me stuff where it's like they explain circuits. Sometimes stuff can get lost in translation when we write things out in English, and that's why we have diagrams. Go to the website rustrition.io. I'll have the link somewhere on screen. It's probably going to be down in the video description. And just plot out your diagram on that, and you can hit the share button and it'll give you a link, and put that in the video. Or if you want, you can join my Discord and link it in my Discord, or link it directly to me. I'm usually online all the time on Discord, but that's a really good way to basically convey your circuitry to me without anything getting lost in between, English being just a terrible language to communicate very low level schematics. But anyway, have a good one. Thanks for watching. Bye. Love you. Mwah.